Hey everyone, Dumont Owen here. It's Wednesday, and today we're going to talk about how to find, or 7 ways to find your ideal clients on LinkedIn. So, all of you who are watching live and all of you who are watching the replay, we've been getting a ton of replay lately. So, if you're watching this on the replay, welcome also. I am going to be putting in the chat shortly a link to my LinkedIn roadmap that will tell you, it shows you step by step what you need to do on LinkedIn in order to build a lead generation system and sales funnel. So, because I'm going to be going back and forth with this, I'm going to put it in here at the beginning, and then I'm also going to put it in at the end so that you'll be able to see it. So it's going to show up twice, and it shows up twice because it shows up on Facebook and YouTube. Let it go. Okay. So today we're talking about how to find 7 ways to find your ideal clients on LinkedIn. And this is a really important topic. It seems really simple, but the fact is that there's nothing more important to your business than finding clients, right? I mean, this is the bottom line. Hey, Dr. Carey, and welcome. There's nothing more important to your business than finding clients and closing those sales and getting that revenue in, right? So, because the fact is that we are all passionate about what we do. We wouldn't be here if we weren't. But in order to have a business, we have to show a profit. So that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about the very top of that sales funnel, finding those people and then attracting them in. So, one of the ways that I'm not going to go into a great deal of detail this time, but one of the ways that you will do that is by building the right kind of network. And in order to, it's kind of a which came first, the chicken or the egg. Do you have a really focused network of people who will refer your ideal clients to you, and a network of people who absolutely fall into that niche? There are 2 ways to look at this. Definitely having a larger network means that there are more people who can introduce you to, someone new that you really want to meet. And that is still the absolute best way of meeting someone, is to get an introduction. So you're going to want to do that. You also need to know, though, how to burrow down and take advantage of some of the things that LinkedIn offers in order to find those clients. So you want to fill that network with the exact people that are going to do you the most good, whether those are your referral network, your JV partners, joint venture partners, or actually people who fall into that area of your ideal niche, that narrow niche. And of course, you know that the narrower your niche, the better results you're going to get. Now, for some of you, you're not there yet. Okay, I understand that. It is really hard to narrow down your niche, because at some point, someone someone one bought your programs or services, and they weren't in that narrow niche. And so there's the sense that we don't want to exclude anyone, right? It kind of reminds me of a cat that I used to have. His name was Fat Max, and as you can guess from the name, Max loved to eat. He was a large cat. And one day he figured out that if he jumped up on the counter, where he wasn't allowed, but if he jumped up on the counter, he could knock the dry food, cat food, off the counter, and one day the top came off, and he was able to eat it. He called, his little buddy was also able to eat, and Max never forgot that. I mean, for a week, I went, I went from putting it on the counter to putting it on top of the refrigerator. He got up there. I mean, this cat was determined. He was not going to give up on that food until I put it into the cupboard. But the thing is that was never going to work for Max again. And we can't be so in love with that one-off experience and remembering that one-off experience that we don't narrow our niche because of it. So it's very good to be focused. However, if you are just starting out and you cannot narrow that niche down, then it is okay to start with a target audience. And your target audience could be a little broader. It might be coaches, or it might be consultants, or it might be entrepreneurs, or it might be financial advisors, but it's kind of a larger swath than really getting down and focusing on just those very few people who are most likely to buy your services. So, having said all that, I want to start out by seeing if anybody has any questions that they'd like to see answered while we're doing this. Okay, we will be coming back, but right now, let's just get started. I'm going to add this. I'm going to make this a little bit larger. And so let's get this show on the road. All right. So what we're talking today is about is number one, why LinkedIn is the best platform for finding B2B leads and also B2C, people who can afford your purposes. Because LinkedIn has the most affluent users of any of the platforms. So that's the number one thing I want to tell you. But it's not just good for B2B. That's a misconception. If you have clients who are going to be on LinkedIn, for instance, most of my clients are coaches. I have some consultants and other types of service providers, but most of them are coaches, and most of them are on LinkedIn, even though I'm, B2C, I'm business to client rather than business to business. I don't do a lot of business to business work. So I still find a lot of leads there. And it absolutely, LinkedIn is responsible for 80% of the social media leads that are generated online. Whoa. That's one in every four. That's 4 out of every 5. Pretty big number. Okay, we're also going to talk about where prospecting falls in a LinkedIn social selling system. And then finally, 7 ways to find your ideal clients. Why LinkedIn for leads? Well, for one reason, there are over 900 million people on LinkedIn now. Pretty good chance that your ideal clients are there. It's just knowing how to find them. And LinkedIn converts 277% better than the other platforms. That's something to really keep in mind. And if you use a system and bring people through that system, then they're going to be very easy or much easier to convert than what you're probably used to. LinkedIn members have more buying power than those on other platforms. Yes, they can afford your premium services. And 33% of B2B decision makers use LinkedIn to research purchases. So people are out there already doing the research. Okay. All right. So where does prospecting fit into a LinkedIn social selling system? And I apologize. Somebody's dragging something down a gravel driveway and it's making a racket. I hope it's not too loud. So where does prospecting fit into a LinkedIn social selling system? And social selling, if you're not familiar with that term, means the kind of selling that we do on social media. And you may be used to getting these kinds of spam messages, or somebody says, "Oh, I ran across your profile today, thought you'd make a great connection," and you accept their invitation, and before you can even turn around and write them back, you get slapped with a bot that's a sales pitch. And that, clearly that works for some kind of industry out there because people keep doing it. But it's not likely to work very often because people go through a journey when they're buying on social media. First, they understand that they have a problem and they're looking for people to talk to about that problem. And that's about 79% of people who want to at some point, in their when they're first considering the problem, or when they're researching in kind of a decision making place, that adds up to over 79% of the people who are looking on LinkedIn for solutions. So if you just wait, and if people just wait and they just hit those people who are right then thinking, I want to buy, you're really limiting your targeting. Because that's where most people focus. And people want to talk to you about their problems and their challenges and their decision-making process all through their buyer's journey, not just at that very end when they're ready to make a decision. So that's why we really want a system, because that system engages, attracts, and converts those clients, in a systematic way that delivers them at the end to a point where, they already know you're an expert. They already trust you. You've built this relationship on mutual respect and trust, so that by the time they get to buying something from you, it becomes a much simpler process. So let's look at 4 stages of what I call the lucrative LinkedIn system. This is a system that I developed when I was struggling as a coach and needed to find my clients on LinkedIn. And this is what I came up with. And I have taught it to women in a women's business center. I have taught it to my private clients, and I've taught it in a class that I teach, and it works. So let's go through each of the parts. The first stage that you have to go through when you are using LinkedIn is that you have to get clear, that clarity. You have to be clear about your goals, your niche, and your brand, your personal brand. Why? Because clarity about these things will actually help you come up with the right strategies to meet your goals. If you don't know your goals, then you're not going to be able to select the right strategy. If you don't know your niche, you're not going to be able to appeal to them by using the right words and language and addressing their problems and challenges. And if you don't know your personal brand, your values, your personality, your vision, your mission, your passions, all of those things, if you don't have a really good understanding of who you are and who you're projecting, then it's going to be harder to attract clients on LinkedIn. The fastest way to get clients on LinkedIn is by promoting a powerful personal brand. Okay, the second stage is awareness. Now, in awareness, this is where you're going to be working on making more people aware of you and what you have to offer. So that's very definitely the profile. And if you haven't been through my profile course, I'll be teaching it, a profile class. I will be teaching it again next month. It's another lucrative LinkedIn Live that I do. There's also content marketing. Now, content marketing at this stage is understanding the main messages that you have with your content, because those are going to go on your profile too. They're all part of it. That brand, that professional brand you developed in the first stage in clarity, is going to be very much a part of your marketing messages. And then finally, you can look at using automation responsibly and in a way that doesn't slam people with premature sales pitches and just do everything in mass quantities, because that's not how you build relationships. Okay, the third part is lead generation, and that's all about building relationships. The first part of lead generation is what we're talking about today, prospecting, finding the right people. The second part is connecting with them in a way that they makes them want to respond. And then the third part is nurturing. That's sending messages and exchanging, getting into that conversation with them and then moving them off of LinkedIn into the final stage, which is sales and analysis. And in this stage, you're going to have that sales conversation. And remember, they already know you by this point. You're going to look at your metrics. You're going to look at the metrics associated with the goals you set up in the first section. And then finally, you're going to rinse and repeat. And the reason, obviously this doesn't work in a circular way all the time. You're going back and forth between these things. But when you are first starting out, this is the pattern. These are the stages you want to go through to create your system, okay? Because if you have a good system, you should be able to work it even in the beginning when you aren't used to using it. You should be able to do it in an hour a day, maybe 5 hours a week. And most of my clients can get it down to 30 hours a day, 30 hours, 30 minutes a day. You used to have to be chained to LinkedIn, but you don't need to be chained to LinkedIn. You just need a system so that you can do it and do it quickly and still be nurturing individuals and having those all important conversations. Okay. All right. So there are 7 ways that we're going to talk about today to find your ideal clients. Now, I'm just going to go through these on here, and then I'm going to take you actually onto LinkedIn so you can see how to do this, okay? So the 7 ways we're going to talk about is 1, followers, looking at who's following you. 2, profile views. 3, using advanced search. And while we're in advanced search, we're going to look at a few other things in there, like how to find your alums and how to look at competitors' connections, and finally how to look at influencers' connections. And we'll also look at people viewed. I don't know, that isn't one that I recommend that people have on their profiles, but it's really helpful when someone else does. So what I'd like to do now is, hold on, I'm going to look down. B2C, Dr. Carey, that's business to customer or business to client. Yeah, okay, I see you got it in the second one. Great. Yeah, okay, so does anybody have any questions before we go to LinkedIn? Okay, so let's stop this. Okay, now I am going to, hold on over here. Let's go to share my screen. Wait, maybe I have to bring this up first. Yeah. Okay. Let's try it again. Share screen. Why isn't it seeing my LinkedIn? Come on. There we go. Okay. All right. So you should be seeing my LinkedIn profile now. This, or not my LinkedIn profile, my LinkedIn homepage. And let's go through a couple of these things. Okay, the first one that I wanted to talk about, let me go to my profile first. Come on. Wait a second. Okay. All right. All right, now, when I go to my profile, the first thing I want to show you. Okay. Uh-oh. I'm getting hold on. All right, now. No, I'm getting when I go to my profile, the first thing I want to show you. Okay. Uh-oh. I'm getting hold on. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. All right, now. No, I'm getting when I go to my profile, the first thing I want to show you. Okay. Let's stop sharing. I was doing this earlier today and it was working just great. Hang on. Okay, let's try this again. All right. Okay. Okay, so. No. All right, so here we are on my profile, and as you can see, that's what's confusing because it's actually broadcasting. When you're live streaming, you can see my profile banner has now turned into the live stream. So that's what was throwing me for a second. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to show you is that it is really easy to find your followers. Now, there are two kinds of profiles. If you are not familiar with this, hold on, I'm going to move this out of the way. There are two kinds of profiles. One is your standard profile, and one is creator mode. Now, I have creator mode, and I'm not going to go into that today. We are doing it next month. But in creator mode, your followers show up here. And when you don't have creator mode, they show up down here. Well, they show up down here in both cases. So you can click on your followers, and that is going to show all the people that are following you. So you can see that I'm following 3,807 people. 4,313 are following me right now. So I can look here and I can invite those people to connect. One of the reasons this works so well is that, first of all, they had a reason for following you. So they're already interested. And that makes it far easier to connect with them. And you may have noticed that when you get invitations now, sometimes there will be an invitation that says so and so is following you and would like to connect. And that gives that extra little, so and so has a real interest in you. They've already been following you. So knowing your followers and approaching them is a really good way to find your ideal clients and get them into that pipeline so that they will respond and then start working with you. So you can see, that some of my followers, I work mainly with coaches, and look at, there are a lot. And there's a LinkedIn trainer and consultant who follows me, and that's great. And I'm going to show you in a minute why you want to accept when someone who is a competitor asks you to connect on LinkedIn. So we're going to be doing that in just a minute. So, these are the people that I'm following. These are followers. Now, remember, followers are not, connections are always followers. Your first degree connections are always in that followers number. But those people who are following you are not necessarily connections. So they are people that you want to be aware of. Okay. Now, another way that you can find people is in what we call people also viewed. And I can see this person. Oh, wait, beautiful profile. Okay. People also viewed. Most of my clients do not have this turned on. You turn it on in your profile settings. It's to let people see other people who are similar to you. Well, to me, that's like having a commercial there for your competitors. So I don't put it on my profile, and I don't know that other people normally do. Deb happens to have a lot of people who are career strategists, and she interacts with them in a lot of different ways. But you can see if you are looking for someone who who worked with career strategist or was a strategist, but that happens to be what Deb is. She's a master personal brand strategist. And so there are people over to the right side here that are similar. So if you find someone, if you have a client that you believe is ideal, you can go to their profile and see if they have people also viewed, because those will be people who likely have something in common with them. Okay, so that's number two. Now, a third way, and this is probably the most thorough way. And by the way, none of the things that I'm showing you do you need a premium subscription for. There are things that you can do with Sales Navigator and with the premium subscriptions that you cannot do with the free version of LinkedIn. And Sales Navigator does have extra search fields so that you can search people on additional things, but you should be able to get pretty close. And as you work with and find more of your ideal clients, you're going to find that has a ripple effect. And you're also, because you're going to be nurturing these individuals, you're going to start getting a reputation, and people are going to start referring other people to you. That's the way it works. Okay, so one of the ways that you can find clients is by using advanced search. And you don't necessarily have to put anything in advanced search. You can just position your cursor here in the search field and hit enter. And see across here, these are all the filters of advanced search. So you could search just on people. For instance, if I'm looking for career coaches, okay, career coach right there, I can do that. And I could say, I only want to see people. Okay. And it's showing me, well, if you're a career coach, you have over 1 million competitors out there. But remember, there are over 900 people on LinkedIn. Having competitors is not a problem. Listen to me. Having competitors is not a problem. You have to find out how to differentiate yourself from them, because people are not going to buy from you because they think you're the best at this on the entire planet. Okay? They're going to buy from you because they like the way you offer your services or your products or your programs. They like your approach. You are different from the other competitors in a way that matters to them. I like to say, you're different. People buy from you because you're different. Their kind of difference. Okay, so you always want to go for the differentiator. Okay, so 1 million people on LinkedIn who are career coaches. So I could instead look at connections. Like I could say, okay, I want to see all the people on LinkedIn who are career coaches, who are second degree connections. Okay, so 173,000. Now, there are a lot more than that, but depending on how the search is working and how people are identifying themselves, some people identify themselves as career development coaches or as mentors or as strategists of some kinds, or job search coaches or career transition coaches. So there can be all different kinds of names, and that's part of it, is getting creative and searching for people in a whole bunch of different ways until you find the best connection. Okay, you can look on locations, you can decide where you want people. or where you want to find people. Maybe, your ideal clients would have worked for some, particular company. Maybe you're trying to network into a company. That would be something you can check. And then you can check all filters. Now, all filters has the whole shebang. And if we were to go back here and get rid of career coach and just do search again, you would see that across, whoops, yeah, well, it's limited now because I went for career coaches, but you would see that there's, reset. Okay. Now you're going to see, I'm going to go over to all filters, and I can go through here and look based on several things. So I'm going to show you some things here. First of all, I would recommend that you always look for second degree connections. First of all, you're already connected to your first degree connections. And then third degree connections, you have no way to approach unless you have their email or their phone number, because they are not connected to anyone that you know. So you can't get an introduction to them. So focus on your second ones. Now, here are two of my very favorite things. Now, remember, I told you that you don't necessarily want to turn down a competitor who asks you to connect. And I know at first it seems kind of irritating, and I hear this. I used to say this all the time myself. Obviously they didn't look at who I am. They didn't realize that I'm in the same business that they are. A LinkedIn expert or a personal branding strategist approaches me on LinkedIn, and I think, oh, they obviously didn't look. And that may be true. There are funny ways that things come up in searches too. So people get there in all different ways. But here's why you don't want to turn them down. Because you can search the connections of any of your first degree connections. Okay, so if you have a first degree connection who is a competitor, you can go in and you can use the search filters on all of their connections. Now, why is this important? Well, first of all, they're already pre-qualified because they're interested in what you do. And secondly, connections aren't necessarily clients. In fact, if they have a lot of connections, chances are pretty good that a lot of them are not clients, but they could be your clients. Remember, you're different. You are the only you. So you want to be able to look at their connections. So I can add a connection here. I'm going to put, because I was looking at Deb's profile, and she's not a competitor. I consider her, I don't know, somebody that I aspire to be. She is just an amazing copywriter. She works strictly with career professionals career pros, in other words, people who work in the career area, and helps them polish and get their work really the best that it can be. Terrific. Okay, so I can go in here and I could go in and I could say, okay, yeah, I'm going to look in the United States this time, or maybe, let's see, I'll add one. Let's say I'm also going to look in Canada, since I'm in Cleveland and that's right across the lake. Okay, so I'm going to add Canada. Well, I didn't mean Quebec, but I'm going to add Canada in general. Okay, Canada. All right. And then I can go to, if I want to look at what they particularly discuss, I could find people who talk about various, topics. That would be a really good way to find them. I can look at their current company. I can look at their past company. I can look at their schools. And I'm going to come back to that because that's really important. I can look at the industry. Now, it's going to take some playing around. I will get, for instance, very different results if I look at the professional training and coaching industry versus looking at specific job titles within that industry. I get different different results because not all coaches would consider themselves in the professional training and coaching industry. They just don't always identify themselves that way. So you have to play around. So let's say I'm looking for English. Let's say I'm looking for professional training and coaching. Now, see, I could do it. I usually don't do both. I usually do either the industry or the service categories. And in fact, I'm going to go with service categories. So let's go with coaching and mentoring. We go with executive coaching. I'm just going to go with coaching and mentoring and see what kinds of results I get. Okay, 144 results. And that's really good because that's a very manageable number. I could go through 10 or 15 of these today and just have, a list of maybe 10 or 15 people. Well, probably boil down to less than that I could invite to be connections. So that's a great way to find people. Now let's go back. Let's reset this and go back to all filters. I want to show you another possibility. You can go down here and you can look at followers. So you're going to add a creator. So, you can go in here and you can add in the followers of, a particular creator, someone who is on LinkedIn a lot. So let's see. I'm going to enter Adam Houlihan. I know Adam is an influencer and I know he has a lot of connections. So I could go in here and I could say, talks about, I'm not so much looking there. As for me, I'm going to look in, let's do professional training and coaching this time. And see what kinds of results we get. No results found. Okay, so let's go back to that one. Reset all filters. Okay, second degree. Let's just look for, let's look for a couple of those and see what we come up with. Okay, 2007 results. So we don't want quite that many, and I doubt all those they may be. Okay, so then I could go through and I could cut down that because I obviously am not going to want 2007 results. That's way too many. So I can go back to all filters. I can once again go for second degree connections. I can enter Adam. And let's say I'm going to cut it down. I'm going to go people in the United States. And I'm going to look for, let's say, professional services. Let's just do that and see what we come up with. English, maybe. Okay, 225 results. Now that's something that I could take and I could work with over the next few weeks, and I could narrow that down. Okay, so another thing that I wanted to show you in here real quickly, just because it makes a lot of sense, is to, when you go to all filters, search by your school. Because, so I can add, I went to Florida State University. So I could add Florida State, and I could add University of Florida. Okay, and I could say, okay, I want to find people who are coaching, mentoring, or doing consulting. Show results. Okay, 6,500 results. Now, obviously, I would want to cut that down more. But the reason that I'm showing you this is that if you went to a college or university, the people who attended that university have something very strong, that they share with you. And so this is a really, really great way to very rapidly increase your connections, because you have something very natural that you can say in reaching out to them. Because the key is to always make everything you do on LinkedIn personal. Okay, so there's one last thing I'm going to show you. I'm going to go to my profile. And this one, as far as how much it's going to show you is, and there's such a hoot because it does show up. If you're doing a live stream from your profile, the live stream shows up in your profile. If you do it from your company page, it doesn't necessarily, it won't show up on your company page, but it does show up on your profile. Now, it doesn't stay there. Once this ends, it'll be gone. Okay, so one last thing. Up here in analytics and tools, that's up in the left-hand corner of your profile. I'm going to go back because I did that pretty quickly. Here on your profile, see where it says analytics and tools? It's up above your banner to the left. You can look at total number of followers, so I could go back and look at that. Or I could look at profile views. Now, I have LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So I can see up to, oh my gosh, I think it's like, yeah, I can see a whole year at a time. However, if you do not have that, then you are only going to see a couple of days at a time. So that's the difference. You would have to go in more often. But it will show you all of your analytics. So if you do have Sales Navigator, it will show you a lot of good stuff about it. And you may be able to get a lot of this without Sales Navigator. I don't have a free account, so I can't tell you that. If somebody's looking, you might be able to enter that in the chat for us. But you can see the details of who's been looking at me, what industries they were in. I think I just had that. What locations they're in. Okay, so they're kind of all over the place. I live in Cleveland. I'm from the Tampa Bay area, so I get a lot of people from that area. And then you can see, what they've been looking for and who they are. So that's another way that you can do it. So I am going to stop sharing. Okay. All right. Oh, hey, Joyce, how are you? Okay. So questions. Anybody have any questions? I went through this kind of fast, but really, there are a lot of great ways to find people on LinkedIn. What I will tell you is, and Joyce, you are an example of this, is that it's a great idea to check in on a daily basis or at least 3 times a week. Now, remember, you can do a lot in a half an hour to an hour on LinkedIn. And especially, we all have these contraptions now, and we can do an awful lot with those. Most of us use those when we're on LinkedIn. I'm on my desktop right now, but that's because it's easier to stream. So if anybody has any questions, let me know. I am going to put in the link to the roadmap again. Now, the roadmap it takes you through those stages, and you'll also get a video that will explain it, along with, over a period of a few days, you're going to get some additional tools that will help you use LinkedIn. So take advantage of that. It doesn't cost you a thing. But be sure and stay with it. Don't just get the roadmap and then opt out, because there are some additional things coming with it that you're going to want. Okay, so all right. Well, I'm not seeing any questions. So I am going to say adieu, and I will check back later because it takes my virtual assistant a while to download the video and get it ready. But I will check back when we have it ready and put it back out. Um, yeah, thanks, Joyce. I think the roadmap will be very, very helpful. So this is Dumont. This is do. This is Dumont on, and I'm going to see you next week. And we're talking about, and I just forgot what we're talking about. The week after that, we're talking about Chat GPT. And next week, gosh, guys, I'm sorry. Hold on. Okay, 1 second. Oh, okay. No, that was last week. What is not showing show all? Come on. We don't have anything listed for. Oh, that's right. Okay, we do not have one next week, but the following week I will be doing Chat GPT. I forgot that next week we have a conference coming up. So, Chat GPT in 2 weeks. Watch for the replay and go opt into that roadmap, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye now.